specializing in emerging technologies, I feel fortunate to consistently engage with global leaders, stakeholders, innovators who all are driving positive change. Joining me today, I have Arvind, and in the back end, we have Naveen, who will infuse energy into this event. So a big applause for their dedication in making efforts to make this gathering a great one. Some facts about AI CoreSpot, which I just wanted to bring forward in this forum to all of you. It was founded close to 4 years now, and it's meant to be a source for inspiration in the tech landscape. We focus on different emerging technologies such as AI, ML, robotics, IoT, and so on. Our webinars serve as a platform to share the latest advancements in these fields, providing fresh insights every month. We aim to be the leading AI-driven community worldwide, fostering collaboration and growth amongst like-minded individuals. We are committed to curating industry-backed webinars and hybrid events, where we leverage insights from industry leaders, trusted partners, the subject matter experts, to deliver credible and valuable content to all of you. Additionally, our content is also meticulously crafted across various digital platforms which we have, which includes blogs, podcasts, videos. We have a monthly newsletter, which keeps all our audience and everyone informed and engaged. Bringing about the attention to today's webinar, for which you all are here for. The topic is AI-powered workspaces that is driving innovation and efficiency. So gear yourself for an enlightening discussion on AI in workforce transformation, enhancing productivity and efficiency, upskilling, reskilling, future outlook, and much more, which is creating excitement within the scope of all industry. Our expert panels is poised to share invaluable insights and engage in thought-provoking discussions that promises to leave a lasting impact. So before starting the conversation, I would like to highlight a few pointers. First of all, extend gratitude to all our community partners for today. We have 5 great companies, which includes Twilio, Infovision, SLB, Amazon, and Northern Trust. Their invaluable contributions have been instrumental in making today's webinar possible. And of course, a heartfelt thanks to all our attendees. Your presence and participation deeply appreciated. Thanks a lot for making it today. As we embark on this journey together, our primary goal as a company is to equip it with insights and facilitate meaningful connections. So whether you walk away with some innovative idea or get new connections, your engagement is a testament to our collective success. Without further delay, let's introduce our esteemed speakers for today's session. So our first esteemed speaker is Bhavin Surela, who is Senior Director of Engineering at Twilio Inc. Our second esteemed speaker is Abhinav Kohar. He is Head of AI Platform at SLB. Our third esteemed speaker is Srinivas Savitala, who is Head of Engineering at Amazon. Our fourth esteemed speaker is C.K. Taneja, who is Senior Vice President, Transformation and Innovation at Northern Trust. And fifth esteemed speaker and moderator for today's event is John Mendes, who is Vice President, Global Practice Head at Infovision. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer: the views expressed by all the speakers are their personal ones and not necessarily reflective of their existing organizations. So let me hand over the stage to John to begin this exciting panel discussion. Over to you, John.
Perfect. Good morning and good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, Nitin, and a very good morning to our esteemed panelists who joined us today as well. So we've got a great topic for our discussion today: the future of work, AI's influence on digital workforce transformation, and an extraordinary lineup of experts and fellow innovators. Like Nitin was mentioning, we have Srinivas Savitala, a hands-on executive leader who's been with the industry for over 24 years. A strong track record, defining strategy, leading teams, bringing innovative products to market, managing enterprise and consumer products at companies like Microsoft and Amazon. We have C.K. Taneja, a transformational leader, an executive coach with over 2 decades of experience driving digital agile transformation across various industries, including finance, healthcare, technology, very well known for his strategic foresight and operational excellence and his human-centered change. Abhinav Kohar, an expert in artificial intelligence and data science, also the co-founder of Credit Connection, an accomplished professional with 6 Gen AI patents, as well as 8 AI research papers to his name. And we have Bhavin Surela, a leader with close to 2 decades of experience harnessing technology to solve complex business problems. And his teams have been building applications, API-driven platforms that serve millions of users. And he brings a wealth of experience, having worked with brands in the past, including the likes of Trillian and SandGrid. I'm very excited to hear from them just as much as the audience is. And we're going to get started off in just a minute as we speak about everything from developments in artificial intelligence, machine learning, some of the other emerging tech that's transforming businesses, industries today, the advancements in GPU architectures and technologies that's catalyzed AI adoption, some of the AI trends that are reshaping the workforce today across different industries, how these are impacting traditional job roles, some of the new skill requirements, human AI collaboration, some of the essential skills for the AI era, ethical, social implications of AI in the workspace, the evolving workforce dynamics, and a lot more, and all of that in just a minute. And before we get started, just a quick housekeeping note for the audience. Please look at the Q&A chat box on your screen. And if you think of a question for any of the panelists, it could be directed to all of them or a specific industry. Just go ahead and type it in there, and we'll get it worked in towards the end based on time we have left. Perfect. Let's jump right in. Today, from the boardroom to the coffee corner, applications of Gen AI are currently being discussed in almost every company. Today, it's become more than just another buzzword. It's impacting various parts of the service provider value chain. It threatens to disrupt client and several industry business models. It's also driving major investments from VCs and private equity firms. So my first question is again for all the panelists. Let's start by exploring the bigger picture today. So how do you see AI shaping the future of work in your respective fields? Can you share maybe use cases or success stories from your industries or your client industries? We'll probably start with CK.
Sure, thank you. So there are quite a few use cases if we talk about which we are seeing in the banking industry. One of them is related to AML and KYC. There is a whole lot of documents, especially for companies which are working in large-scale wealth management, etc. You need to see how the money movements are happening. So there is tons of documents that you have to go through, and AI is helping in making it easy to point to where to get to. Other is the complaint management, like you get a complaint that in 2000 something went wrong. Now, the regulations in that space in 2000 could have been very different. The person that could have been different. The communications could be in various different forms. AI helps us to put all of that information together and do it much faster rather than analysts going through each one of them and reviewing every document and come back. So those are few, and there are many more we can go through later.
Perfect. Thank you, CK. Srinivas, what have you been seeing in your experience with your clients and your industry?
Yeah, thanks, John. I think, again, I represent Amazon, predominantly worked in the retail space. I think retail is one of the spaces where AI is taking a giant leap forward, right? So right from knowing the customer's shopping history, recommending the products they want to purchase, right? So, and what are the items I need to keep in stock, right? To accelerate the product delivery to the customer, right? So, I mean, there are a plethora of use cases. I think where I've been involved was predominantly on the 3P seller side. Again, in the last 3 years, we innovated and made our operations team life easy, especially like, I owned a product called Amazon Seller Forums, where this is the product where sellers will come in and ask questions, trying to get the help from Amazonians and all that, right? So I think one of the use case very recently we solved was how do I respond? Every day there are tens of thousands of posts. Do I need to respond to everything, right? Or should I increase my workforce to respond to these queries? I think that is one of the simplest use case we found out where, hey, you know what, let AI tackle this for us. What is the critical thing that we need to respond? What is the time sensitive, right? So something simple like that increase the significant operational efficiencies, right? So, I mean, just naming one recent development, but I think as simple as that, right? I think there's no limit these days where you can use AI as such.
Amazing, amazing. Abhinav, what have you been seeing in your industry? And again, what one of the biggest players in the specific industry, and having worked on extensively in this space, right? Been on POCs, POVs, rapid prototyping, all of that. So what have you been seeing in this space?
Thank you for that question. So in our industry, we are basically pioneering human AI collaboration in ways that are transforming how we deliver energy solutions globally. I can share a couple of examples on this. First one is related to drilling operations. So our AI-assisted drilling platform will analyze like real-time data from thousands of sensors and process this information, which is not possible for any human to tackle alone. Human drilling engineers still remain at the core of our operations, using AI insights to make critical decisions. One example in this space is when drilling through, say, complex formations, AI can predict potential issues hours in advance, but the final decision on the course correction will always rely on our experienced engineers. Another example I can share is reservoir characterization. We have implemented AI models that can process huge amounts of seismic data, well log data. Our geologists and petrophysicists use these AI insights to enhance their interpretations, and basically it helps them focus on higher value analysis and decision making. Last example I can give is maybe field service operations. AI solutions are helping us power predictive maintenance systems, prioritizing which equipment needs maintenance. Mobile AI assistants provide real-time guidance during complex procedures, and this leads to reduced downtime and improved safety. So these are some examples of how we are utilizing it today.
And in fact, when it comes to predictive maintenance, we've had discussions with some of the companies in the manufacturing space, and how downtime could even lead to sometimes having to send people back during their shift hours because, machinery was down. And that's one of the, critical use cases, especially in manufacturing, the oil and gas industry. Thank you. And Bhavin, what have you been seeing in your industry when it comes to some of these initiatives?
Yeah, so very similar, but also very different. So Twilio has, or in general, I've been in marketing application segment and communication segment. So we've seen a lot of that KYC, KYT type of management, where it is now greatly enhanced through AI. It has been a very cumbersome process with a lot of people actually looking at a lot of these documents, trying to ensure the compliance is met through, which is now hugely expedited and very, very productive and efficient. On top of that, like fraud protection is a big piece of communication. There's a lot of fraud happening on the communication sector. So leveraging those AI elements to then help detect fraud, deter fraud, I think that has been a big element out of that. And apart from that, we have a lot of marketing use cases and things like that. So content generation and planning out which audiences to reach on which particular time or which particular communication channel, being predictive about that and generating a greater return on the marketing use cases have been a huge play for us recently as well. And on top of that, we also serve developers, right? So that is another big area where we are trying to make it easy for developers use our services by providing them tools specifically around how to get integrated with our AI technology very quickly. And these are the main things that I've been seeing here.
Perfect. And marketing is definitely one of the areas which has evolved so much with the advent of AI from I mean your SEOs, SEMs to your demand gen strategies to reaching people the right time. And I mean, there's so much of automation, and how do you stand out? How do you customize that and personalize it as well, right? So amazing.
Absolutely.
And thank you, team, for sharing those insights. The next question for CK, and in fact, as a leader who's been in the industry for over 20 years, and I know when we spoke, you mentioned about the 70 plus startups that you've been associated with across finance, healthcare, technology, and again, some of which have been listed on NASDAQ, and ones that got acquired by Fortune companies as well. And I can imagine how all of these industries are continuing to evolve with the adoption of AI. So question for you, what are the major AI trends you see that are reshaping the workforce today? And how are these impacting traditional job roles and new skill requirements?
Thank you for that. So the challenges, there are a few challenges, and there are a few forward-looking trends that we see. One of the things that we are seeing is AI as an enabler and a collaborator. Many of the people start thinking, and those are, I say, the fixed mindset people, they start thinking that AI is going to replace them. The point is that AI does not have yet the emotions that a human being has. It has all the knowledge. It is like a child that is growing up and learning new things every day much faster than we did in our growing formative ages. But AI is actually a collaborator. It is going to help you become better in your job. So what we are seeing is that organizations are starting to bridge the capability gaps or fasten the learning process in the organization by bringing in AI to help. And it is also bringing all the knowledge together. So if I have distributed salespeople or relationship managers across 50 different countries, learning from one gets passed to another person immediately, kind of using the AI, because as they give the feedback that this is how a customer behaved, we get to learn in America, sitting from China person or an Australia person, that how this thing happened. The process of, because AI is doing many things, so we need to adapt to how those things will not be required to be done by humans. So we need to change our styles. And that means that we need to keep learning new things and new ways of working because we have to become more powerful and more meaningful. So where do you bring value is how it is. AI brings value to you, and how do you bring value to in that coherent environment is the things.
Perfect.
Sorry.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well said, CK, and that's we are seeing this across the industry as well, right? So a lot of the bigger players with these different models, LLM models, and I mean they're very particular in the way they coin the names as well. It's not the pilot; you're still in control, but AI being the co-pilot to bring in efficiencies in a lot of these cases. Perfect. And Bhavin, from your experience mentoring and guiding large engineering teams across organizations like Twilio, what are some of the trends that you are seeing when it comes to this space with respect to AI trends and how it's impacting traditional job roles and new skill requirements?
Yeah, actually, it's a great question. So what we are seeing, at least in the software engineering space, that I think it's experiencing evolution, where traditional software engineering, you'll see teams were not sort of limited outside of the traditional full stack development of the UI engineering, backend engineering. You'll go all the way till database, maybe a lot of it. But you'll usually see a separate machine learning wing, and there will be the key expertise. If you have to untap, that you have to figure out how to collaborate with them. I think what we are seeing, a lot of the teams are becoming full stack. They're learning more, and by full stack, I mean all the way till incorporating GenAI use cases into their direct workforce. We are seeing more and more of the interface being changed to natural language processing, then rather than having all the other use cases of like buttons and whatnot. A lot of times the prompt is becoming the interface for the customer. So that is a big piece. The engineering workforce itself is using engineering, generative AI in the sense of detection of incidents, summarizing, or automation is a big part of it. So those are the key big trends that we are seeing on the job replacement. I don't think we are yet there where we have replaced a lot of jobs. I think we are seeing, based on the papers I've read and I've seen, it's the low-skilled workers are experiencing more productivity gain compared to high-experienced professionals at some point. And over time, it's an additive function. To your point, it's a helper, but on the top of that, you still need to be able to understand, because AI also sometimes hallucinates and those things. So you have to be on top of what you're asking. The context needs to be relevant. The skill development, like again, leveraging AI, the vector databases and those kind of technologies are very emergent these days. So just there's a lot to learn, and as a person, you have to have an open mind and a lot of curiosity to sort of dig further.
Perfect. And in fact, some of the latest research reports, and in fact, one from McKinsey survey was stating that more than 65% of employees are reporting that their organizations are regularly using Gen AI, which is more than double the percentage from a previous survey just 10 months ago. So quick question for, again, Srinivas and Abhinav. It's a two-part question. Can you share examples of how your organization or your client organization are implementing AI to augment rather than replace human capabilities? And what are some key lessons learned about successful human AI collaboration? We could probably start with Srinivas.
Yeah, I can go first. Thank you, John. So I think folks already touched upon it, right? So first of all, I think we need to educate our teams upward, downward, sidewards, everyone that, hey, AI is not replacing humans. It's in fact augmenting, right? I think I talked about one of the use cases that I explained, how we have actually helped our operations team work on the creative task versus responding to every query on the discussion forums platform from sellers, right? Hey, saying thank you, right? So we are looking at it. You don't need to do that, right? In fact, have them see what is the quality response that they can bring in, so that really helps the Amazon seller to grow their business or list their products more efficiently, right? So versus, right? So I think, right, those are some of the use cases, like, where detect when to respond, what to respond. And I think folks already mentioned that, one thing that we have also done is we've kind of all the help articles that usually associate. They don't need to remember all this, right? So this is where the generative AI, and then, right, so they can summarize the content for you, and then this is where folks can humanize the responses and then send it in a more effective, right? So yeah.
Perfect. And Abhinav, anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, thanks, John. So we talked about 3-4 use cases, right? On drilling site, reservoir characterization, or field operations. So some of the key lessons we have learned with that is maybe number one is transparency. That still remains the most critical, element in AI operations. You need to be transparent about your AI's capabilities and limitations with your teams so that you can build trust. So when, say, your AI model is predicting that a motor is going to fail, or a fracturing pump is going to fail, they need to understand why and how reliable that data is. Teams will perform best when they understand exactly how AI assists in their decision making, where it is complementing them, where it is giving information which they don't have, and also maintaining like clear documentation where human judgment is needed versus where AI can operate autonomously. Another one can be cultural integration. the most successful implementations have happened where we involved end users from the very beginning, even before we started implementing any AI model. So basically, you can create some AI champion programs where experienced people can mentor the juniors, and this significantly improved our adoption rates. Impact-wise, it has reduced our non-productive time significantly, also improving, maintenance efficiency, and also reduced, hazardous events. So as you know, oil and gas operations are very dangerous and can lead to loss of human life. So basically, we have improved a lot on that thanks to our AI operations.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Abhinav. And today, companies like NVIDIA, your Intel, Qualcomm's, your ARM or GraphCore, all of them have played a very significant role in accelerating the adoption of emerging tech, and along with other players like your hyperscalers, your AWS, your Azures, your GCPs. We spoke about some of the use cases across industries, from oil and gas, retail, marketing. We touched on a little bit in the banking space as well, right? From personalized product recommendations, inventory management, optimization, your SDLC acceleration, your GitHub copilots or tools for release notes, and all of that. So there are numerous, innumerable applications of GenAI, and it's simply amazing seeing the advancement in the space. And in fact, it's projected that by 2030, AI potentially has the upside of increasing productivity more than fourfold, right? So, and I'd like to quickly just touch on that piece very quickly on AI's role in enhancing productivity and efficiency. And quick query for Bhavin, having worked with Twilio, SendGrid, and some of the other brands in building applications, APIs, platforms, there are serving millions of users today. How do you build teams that effectively leverage AI to boost productivity, and what skills are crucial for adapting to these changes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the answer for that 5 years ago would be different, right? Where we would have, like I said earlier, that we would have specific dedicated AI ML groups and they use it. We still have them today. Don't get me wrong. I think there is this center of excellence always there. But generally speaking, I think it starts from the top, right? As a team leader or as an organization, you have to define what is your stance on the AI. How do you want to use it? What are the AI goals that we want to achieve? And I also mean that the organizations actually don't need to use AI as a hammer, right? There are a lot of problems that you don't need to use all the time AI for all of these things, but there are a lot of good problems that now can obviously be very well solved with the Gen AI introduction. So from that perspective, I think defining the AI goals, identifying the skill set, up-leveling the engineering team if you have one, right, on just the concepts, the how to use AI, how do you actually get a model, pick a model, fine-tune it, what does it mean to actually create a model from scratch, what is the right model to choose. I think those are the right things that you can empower a lot of engineers to work on. And on top of that, to show them how it works, right? So for example, there are a lot of tools. We use this tool for our incident management, which now nicely summarizes where the problems are in the entire stack of the infrastructure. It quickly pinpoints what the problems, checks the historical backlog and figures out maybe this is a relative problem. So it's a very simple example how the productivity is increased, which helps the companies recover the services faster, and you end up having with a better customer experience at the end of the day, which I think took longer. I've personally used it for brainstorming and just learning so much about it, right? If I don't understand a piece of code, I can actually look at it and it'll explain me in layman terms, right? So those are kind of the things which I think it gives a lot of empowerment. I still believe as a leader, if you coach your team to become curious, ask the right questions, give them the right tools and freedoms, I think you automatically will have a more productive environment and therefore the more productive team.
Perfect. In fact, when I was speaking with CK as well, so he was mentioning about some of the interesting use cases in this space, utilizing NLP in fact, and especially for document processing. CK, would you mind sharing with the audience how NLP is being used to extract critical information from unstructured data to streamline workflows and for decision making in this space?
Sure. If we talk about a complex use case, which I was initially gave reference to, say there is a complaint from an investor that I was not treated right, or I requested for making an investment into, did I freeze?
Yeah,
I thought I froze in between.
Yeah, we lost you for a few seconds, but please go ahead.
So the example I was giving before, like the investor comes to you and says that my requests were not treated right, and I was invested in the wrong kind or something. Suppose one hypothetical case. Now that requires review of certain documents. There could be handwritten documents, there could be structured documents, and then there is some other documents that are sitting in terms of notifications from the regulators, etc. Now, if in general language, like neuro-linguistic programming is used in this case, like we first analyze this complaint and tell me whether this complaint is valid or not. And if it is, what is the course of, what is the areas that we need to cover? So it will come in and say, Jenny, I can come in and tell you that because this refers to UK customer, that means it is under the British regulatory. Because it is about an investment made in, say, 2020, then the regulations of 2020 are relevant to this. And it would say, because it was this particular person, this was the relationship manager, so those would be valid. And now with using the same natural language, you are telling, go back and look at the regulatory reports. How does it say? Look at the any handwritten notes from this relationship manager. Look at anything. So now you are actually creating agents which are using natural language, going out and working on various different things, which you would have told your analyst to do. Only thing is that analyst would have taken about 50 to 60 days to go through these documents, come to you, and then you would have so many documents to put it together. Here, multiple agents using natural language have worked this thing quickly, and within about 5 to 10 minutes, you have all this information compiled together in front of you with the references that this is the reference and this is how the citation and this is how it is, whether I think this is valid or not. And then as a human, I can go in and look at it and say what actions should be taken. Do I want to make the customer happy and I decide, yes, I will reimburse you for something, or I don't think that this was a valid thing and this is like an acceptance of my mistake as a bank or somebody, whichever kind of business it is, right? So if you look at it, the natural language working becomes so easy. So I do not have to be a sophisticated programmer who has to go in and code rules, but I can still give guidance that only stay within the regulatory documents that were in our records. So if I was not aware and if there was some notification which we did not have it, and that means it did not comply to us or it did not mean to us, I'm doing that. I can avoid hallucination by giving the guardrails, etc. So I think there is so much that is there which is efficiency based and natural usage. So you don't have to be so sophisticated person. It is just like talking to a human being.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, CK. And in fact, my next question is for Srinivas, and having led the launch of several major initiatives like omni-channel upsells, returns, digital signage at Amazon, and I'm sure a lot of use cases on NLP and everything which CK was speaking about as well. So in your current role, you're leading the engineering teams at Cooper, one of Amazon's teams that's in the forefront of innovation. deploying thousands of satellites, low Earth orbit, linked to global networks, improving broadband connectivity. Did we lose Srinivas?
Yeah, I'm here. Maybe I just lost for a few seconds. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, Srinivas, what approaches can organizations take to balance AI integration with human roles to maximize both productivity and innovation?
It's a great question, right? I think the first and foremost thing that I would think is the strategic role allocation. What I mean here is, I mean, it's both a top-down and a bottoms-up, right? Organizations should clearly assess what are the tasks that are best suited for AI and humans, right? I think it needs to be looked at very carefully, right? So leverage humans for very creative writing a code strategy documents, right? Quality requirements, right? I mean, we are not in a stage where AI can do all that for us, right? So, I mean, given a task, it can tell you the best way to do it, right? But I think that is where leverage humans for creative tasks, right? So I think that clear segregation and strategy is a very key, right? So I think what we've done in Amazon is like every organization within Amazon, not just my teams, right? Very clear. I think organizations are hunger for what are the use cases, right? I think it cannot be solved by the CXO layer alone, right? That needs to be percolated down, right? What we do is in the yearly planning documents to multiple strategy docs, AI has taken a center stage. Hey, come up with all the use cases, right? That's the push that we are having. I'm sure most of the folks here can resonate that, right? I think that is the huge collection that organizations want to see. After that, do a feasibility analysis, right? Technically feasible doesn't mean that you go ahead and implement, right? There are technically feasible, but what are the outcomes it is driving, right? What is the ROI? Is it helping me reduce my dollar spend, or is it helping me improve my operational efficiencies, or is it improving my developer productivity, right? I mean, there may be many more key metrics, right? But if none of these are significantly impacting, then discard it, right? There's no need to just roll out a cool idea. Or is it helping the end customer, right? To, for example, helping me discover products quickly, right? So rather than me going and searching, right? If none of these are, the factors, then you should discard, right? I think that is exercises that we actively do in my teams and much broader teams at Amazon too. And I'm sure folks can again resonate on this. And a few other things are create the foster culture, create the culture of innovation, right? Incentivize it, right? I think for coming up with ideas and make it cross-functional. It's not just an engineer job alone, right? To come up with these ideas, right? I think we did I'm sure everybody does hackathons, but our hackathons also included product operations folks too, right? It's not just for engineers. The excitement I saw from a non-tech audience was amazing, right? They felt very included, right? So in the process, and they were the ones who articulated the use cases and worked closely with engineers. They didn't know AI, but I think in the span of the 2-3 days, they themselves were so empowered to talk about to the broader audience and all that. I think that is where look for these hackathons beyond just with engineers, right? Include everyone, right? I think that is one of the key learning, at least that, I had. And also, right, from a ethical frameworks, define the ethical framework depending on the organization. What is that, where we can use AI, where we should not use AI, right? For multiple reasons, right? From security, regulatory, compliances, based on the businesses that we are driving. Right? So, and measure the holistic impact. I don't think many organizations may have this scientific way to determine. For example, I'm including a personal recommendations, but what is that helping, right? So there are some algorithms that we need to design. Okay, if I'm adding a feature, it is helping me generating X dollar per hour, X dollar per month, or right, improving productivity. You need to have that measurable systems that will tell you. That is where the organizations can take a very informed decisions, right? So yeah, these are some things.
Thank you, Srinivas. And that I can definitely correlate to how your team is going about this and the whole process, the framework, everything that's in place as well. In fact, even our innovation teams, when they started off, they've created this ideation center of excellence, where they're building accelerators, frameworks, and some of these have evolved over time, driven by client needs, and some of it have gone on to become products in itself and become separate product entities as well. So definitely can correlate to it. So I came across some very interesting stats from the World Economic Forum, right? So and especially with a lot of discussion around AI's role and how the whole job market scales, everything's going to be changing, and where they predict that new technologies are going to disrupt maybe 85 million jobs globally between 2020 and 2025. But at the same time, they're going to create 97 million new jobs roles, right? And we are seeing that a lot of companies, right from your Microsofts, they're committing to training and certifying like 10 million people in digital skills by 25. IBM recently said that 30 million individuals by 2030. SAP is speaking about millions of workers being upskilled. Google announced like 130 million in funding to support AI training and skills. And so which well, we're on the topic, and this is probably a question that the audience would likely have as well. So question for all the speakers, and as AI reshapes work, which skills are essential, and how are companies preparing their workforce for this whole transformation? And what are you seeing in your company, your client industries? We'll probably start with Abhinav, and we'll go across the room.
Thank you for the question, John. I think you need to take a strategic approach to prepare your workforce for the AI era. And I can share some perspective on what are the essential skills, how you can prepare. So we can have like a core skills framework where you can have like three main pillars. One is technical AI literacy, making sure your people understand AI fundamentals and what capabilities it can support, data interpretation and analytical thinking. They should understand basic programming concepts and tool proficiency. And they should be able to validate AI outputs and identify when it has a bias versus when it is responding to an adversarial example. The second one is domain expertise enhancement, integration of traditional energy sector knowledge with AI applications, advanced problem solving using AI-assisted tools, and digital workflow optimization. And the third one, and I think it's the most important one, is the human-centric skill set, critical thinking and judgment, effective collaboration with the AI systems, adaptability and continuous learning, and communication across technical and non-technical folks. The preparation strategy can be multifaceted. It can be through internal programs, by creating digital academies for your employees, personal learning paths. It can be through external partnerships, collaborating with universities for specialized training, industry partnerships, regular exposure to new trends and applications, what we are doing today. And you might encounter some challenges while doing this, so there might be initial resistance to change, which can be addressed through peer success stories, time management issues solved by modular flexible learning paths, skill application gaps, which can be bridged through mentorship, and basically regular feedback to your teams. And we are constantly evolving our approach, developing predictive models for future skill requirements. We are using AI to basically predict what it will replace, creating more immersive learning experiences, and basically expanding our digital learning infrastructure.
Thank you, Abhinav. Alvin, would you like to add anything to what?
Yeah, it's a great answer, right? So difficult to add on top of that, but I definitely plus one the data literacy skills, right? I think AI is going to be as only good as your data. So I think the more and more as an organization, and we can prepare our data sets to be clean, to be prepared for the specific use cases that we want to have, either transactional, analytical, whatever they are, so that they can power the right kind of AI at the right time. That will be important. The other thing I think around in this AI, right? Of course, you can learn technical skills and all these AI skills. That is great, but I think as an individual, what is going to stand out is can you then actually collaborate with other humans more and more better at a larger scale, right? So I think, yes, you need all the things that Vinay mentioned, right, to become as an AI educated organization. That is great, but we still need to be able to work together and with other larger. So those skills are going to become more and more important, in my opinion, as a lot of people are going to be able to achieve a lot more with the AI. So more people will need to come together. So collaborative skills, inclusion around working across the globe, to figuring out, how to solve problems together, to be able to communicate effectively, to be able to write simple things effectively and clearly. I think those are the big skills that will come across and will be celebrated. And of course, the leaders, the HR organizations, as well as the leadership role will play a key role, right, in like enabling these people with the training programs like Abhinav suggested, and allowing people to just grow their skill set. But the human touch is always going to be needed.
Thank you. Srinivas, anything you'd like to add to it?
I think pretty much covered, but really want to double click again on the literacy part again, right? So AI literacy is so important that it's for everyone, right? Again, it's not just for engineers. I think there is a myth that I need to know statistics better. I need to understand all that vectors, algebra. No, right? That's not for everyone. I think mostly it is for the applicability part, right? Which can easily be trained, in which is where large organizations are actually like Amazon, Google, Microsofts of the world are investing in their employees, right? It's very easy to acquire the skills, right? How do I invoke a certain model, right? Not everybody creates the models, right? That is where people need to takeaways, like those are very, very minority, right? Which is where PhDs come in, and then, right, it's mostly interpretation skills and how do I integrate with these models, right? Which these frameworks have made it so easier, right? Which is why we could see very tangible outputs in a couple of days hackathon, right? So that is a good segue to see whether I need to move forward or, cut it here, right? So I think that literacy is like actually a cost saving exercise. You cannot have, I cannot hire like hundreds of engineers, this specific engineers to do my job. In fact, train your employees, right? So I think, for example, we have an Amazon machine learning university, right? So tens of thousands of people are already trained. It ranges from multiple, for engineers to leaders to, right? Because AI has become like a language, right? So everybody needs to talk. If I'm developing a requirement for personalization, you cannot just say, show me recommended products. What does that mean, right? You need to go a level deeper, right? So this is where the core minimum skills are required, even to write those requirements, right? For developers or engineers to understand and decipher it and build it, right? So I think this literacy is key, where, not every organizations cannot afford, at least they need to partner with educational institutions to do that, which is not super expensive, right? I think that is where at least one big takeaway for me was that reskilling and upskilling is an ongoing process. It's never ending. Yeah.
Thank you, Srinivas. CK. And anything you'd like to add to what Abhinav, Bhavin, and Srinivas just shared?
Now, the scope of how AI has to be adopted is very well covered and learning, but I will go into the process of learning because I come from human-centric change management adoption. I think we have to recognize there are in any organization 5 generations that are there. Each one of them interprets and consumes data differently because their formative years were very different. Each one of them has a different level of trust. So when we go out, start saying that we need to educate, we need to follow the different styles with everybody. So you will find the latest generation, the youngest of the 2 generations, are going to just go in and adapt this very quickly because they understand this is how things work, right? They consume a telephone very differently like we consume. So we always talk with the telephone to our ears, and they are talking to the telephone in front of them, right? You can see that difference very clearly. For them, telephone is an app which they rarely use on the phone. And for us, this is still a telephone and it's not a mobile computing device, even though this has more power than my first computer that I ever had. So the point is that we need to build trust. And to build trust, you have to actually train the models with your own data. Data was brought out. So your RAG data is going to be very important. Your values around it is going to be very important. How we set up the ethics around usage. The ethics around usage are going to be important. The values around usage are going to be important. The organizations will have to decide that, when to use, when not to use, kind of thing. But it's no different from when I look at it. There was a time when we started making electricity out of hydroelectricity, basically, and people were scared that the energy from the water would be drawn and the water would be useless. Then there came the time of computers, and people thought as soon as we bring computers, the life would be different, our jobs would be gone, and that was coming from a particular perspective. And today, you cannot think of life without computers. Same thing is going to happen with this, right? It will keep changing, and we have to keep adapting with the change. The change is not going to make you redundant. The humans created the technology, so technology is always controlled by human. We just have to adapt to become more cohesive with it. That's how I say. Thank you.
Thank you, CK. Srinivas, with all these skilling, reskilling, everything that's happening, and I mean, organizations also face a lot of challenges, right? So when it comes to reskilling employees for AI-driven roles, so what are some of the challenges that you see across the industry?
Yeah. Again, great question that I've been thinking through. I think first of all, organizations should acknowledge there is a skill gap, right? So you cannot prevent it, you cannot avoid it, right? So there's a skill gap. Try to see how do we address that skill gap, right? And there is a fear, right? Very, among employees, among multiple, personnel in the department set around, will it take away my job, right? So whether it is hype or reality, that fear is there, right? So I think that's where organizations have been quite cautious around, right? So like aggressive hiring that we did, right? Few years ago. Again, step back and see what job families you need to hire, right? How quickly you need to hire versus how, have that a very good trajectory at hiring, right? So again, acknowledge skill gap, invest in your employees, acknowledge that there will be a resistance, right? Somebody who don't know anything about the AI, starting tomorrow, you need to learn everything. There will be resistance, right? There are some folks who are hungry, some folks who are resistant. Organizations need to deal with. This is the challenge, right? There's no recipe here, right? You need to deal with it. Each organization's challenges are different, right? So again, you can always hire, but will you let people go just that easily, right? I think acknowledging the skill gap, acknowledge that there will be resistance, just work through it, right? Be patient, right? And make sure entire organizations come together, right? When I say departments, right? So it's no longer working in silos, right? If you want to solve a business problem, talk to the business team, what their problems are versus writing requirements in silos, right? I think that's the need of the hour, which organizations have realized and working as a tiger teams and all that too, right? So that cross collaboration across multiple, with this AI revolution, has become even more important than before. These are some of definitely the challenges. I'm sure it's also bringing out new opportunities to, right? Thinking through with laying out a clear AI strategy for any organization, right, is actually giving them new business opportunities, right? So new ways of earning money or new ways of improving productivity, right? So
Thank you, Srinivas. And then quick question for Abhinav on while we're on the topic of challenges in this space, right? So what are some of the biggest cultural challenges you encountered with AI-driven transformation? How do you address employee concerns about job security, role changes, and what are you seeing within your industry?
Thanks, John, for the question. So I think over my journey on like AI transformation, I have encountered several challenges. Most of them are related to culture. And if I have to talk about the three biggest ones, one is fear of getting obsolete. Initially, you will find like many employees who view AI as a threat to their role rather than something which can augment or complement their roles or job performance. Uh, Field engineers are particularly concerned about automation. Middle managers are normally worried about AI replacing their decision making. To address this, I think Microsoft has done a great job in this space. You need a co-pilot kind of approach where AI needs to be positioned as an enabler. You need to showcase how AI handles like routine tasks, which can get pretty repetitive, boring. So basically, you're freeing up your time for higher value strategic work. And I think the most important one, which I think is crucial, is creating some success stories, having those like poster childs of employees whose roles have been completely transformed or elevated through the use of AI. Second one is resistance to change. Uh, Experienced professionals are resistant to change. You can't expect them to be like AI experts like in a day or two, right? Uh, but these guys have the most important business knowledge, domain knowledge, which you cannot work without. So basically, you need to find a balance between both these approaches, address their concerns on reliability of AI decisions. To do that, you can basically start with small high impact pilot projects, peer-to-peer learning, uh, and basically demonstrate like clear benefits, reduced manual work, better insights, fewer errors. Like in our case, lower fatality compared to say completely human operations. And last one I would say is trust and transparency. People will always question about AI decision making process. No AI model is foolproof. You cannot guarantee that it will not make mistakes. Then there will be concerns about accountability. And then there is always uncertainty about human oversight. So to manage this, you need to establish clear guidelines for AI use, human oversight, when some who needs to do what basically. That way you can also establish accountability. You need to have transparent processes for AI assisted decisions, so you can always backtrack why something happened or why a decision was taken the way it was taken, and basically empower your employees to question and validate AI outputs. Like no one should be blindly accepting what is coming out of these models. Yeah.
Thank you. Abhinav. And in
Abhinav,
fact,
what I heard when I heard you saying all this, it seems like AI is like another employee that we do, and we have to have the same kinds of guardrails around it, like monitor them, train them, develop them, and not trust everything that they do, but develop them to do everything that we want them to do, right?
Yeah. So LLM ops is the most emergent field, right? Trying to tackle this, monitoring them, correcting them, forcing them to do things the way we want them to do things. So yeah, no, that's absolutely right.
Thank you, CK. And we'll touch on that, on the compliance, the ethics, and all of that as well. And this in fact, this discussion is a good segue to the next section. In fact, we spoke about applications, upskilling, reskilling, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, which also leads to the question about AI in leadership and strategy. Right, 75% of business leaders believe that what's going to set companies apart from their competition in the future is going to be determined by who has the most advanced generative AI systems. Some would say it's just the hype that we have today, but some would argue it's still reality. So quick question for Bhavin and CK. How has AI influenced leadership roles and decision-making processes, and what shifts are you seeing in management and strategic planning today?
I want to go first, or you're going first, TK?
Yeah, please go ahead, Pawan.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's still emerging. There, at least from where I am, in just even just talking about my role, right? I personally feel that it has enabled me to have a larger breadth of information in my hands, right? You have a dozen teams working on a lot of different things. It does get hard to actually keep track of what is happening, so you can actually be in the weeds with them, but also actually be on the 30,000-foot view and provide some guidance, right? So that is simply has been very tactical, but very, very useful for me, right? Like you have, people here from Amazon will relate, like a lot of employees create a lot of documents, a lot of time, and just by keeping track of what is happening, there's a lot of discussions on Slack, wiki pages are creating Zoom recordings. So even just getting that summarized view on the fingertips has been super useful for leaders to just keep on track, connect with their employees better, and actually make slightly more informed decisions than they were making before. So that's simply just one, right? The other piece, I think, what Abhinav touched earlier, I think with AI, we have capabilities of like a little bit more on the prediction side. So if you can leverage your data well, and you can predict some of the pieces that are going to come towards you, as a leader, you can set up the team very nicely to be able to tackle those decisions. You may not be able to prevent it, but you are then now better prepared a little bit more in advance, instead of having a rapid fire when it actually hits you. So we have an example where Black Friday is coming up. It's a huge event for us, right? And a lot of communication goes through. We use that to figure out what is our traffic going to look like at what particular channel at what particular time, to just better prepare our engineers for it. So that's just one very simple example where decisions are used, like data-driven decision making is affecting leadership roles. There's predictive leadership where we are forecasting, and then there's very routine things, right? Like there's automated decision making, right? We talked about some of this where it needs to be augmented, but very simple things like, you get some prompts, you need access to certain tools, you get it done, and you don't have to wait in line for 2 days for somebody to manually approve and get access to some basic tools that you need. So these are very simple things that I think I've seen in my own career as a leader that was not there before, but is really helping right now.
Thank you, Pawan. CK, would you like to add anything to this?
So I think, and this is the conversation I've been having with many of the leaders, right? When I do coaching, you have to understand that, like we always knew, data is the key for decision making. And bringing the right data in front of you, analyzing the data is helpful to make the right decisions. Generative AI is actually giving you the power of receiving all this information and data and processing it in a very short period of time, very quickly. The amount of data that is there, which was talked about by Bhavin, is so humongous that there is not humanly possible to go in and compile it and add it, especially in the different structures of the data that is existing. This becomes easier, and it gives help to the leaders to do. So that is one part of the things of adopting, the value for adopting. Other is the change in the leadership styles that is starting to happen, because when we start saying that there is technology out there that somebody in my team knows better than I do, so instead of giving instructions, which was for many of the people, that was the style of leadership, that I tell people what to do, when to do, how to do, etc., and I have to be the most knowledgeable person in the room, is changing towards how do I enable people to bring the best out of them, because there are so many different people in the team who have better knowledge than me, who have better understanding, who have better applications that they can think about. How do I ensure that they remain in the guardrail and they are able to bring out their best, at the same time stay aligned to the company's vision and the growth process or the value system? So that part of the leadership change is becoming more and more important, which is also uncomfortable for many, because that's not how they have operated, and that's where they need to learn to do that, and many are doing that. So I think there is a lot of change that is happening in that area.
Right. Thank you, CK. And but beyond the hype of the traditional or the LLMs like the GPTs and understanding tasks requiring domain-specific knowledge or discerning between factual information, you're generating creative content, all of this while creating, keeping misinformation, privacy risks or checks, data hallucination, all of that at bay. For different use cases, it's very important for organizations today to measure the ROI, the success of their AI initiatives. And in fact, and quick question for Srinivas and Abhinav. Could you please quickly touch on some of the frameworks, some of the measures in place today for organizations to track the performance, the success of their AI initiatives beyond traditional ROI metrics, particularly in terms of employee satisfaction, productivity, innovation? Srinivas, yeah, please.
Yeah, again, traditional metrics you talked about, like, the dollar benefit, productivity, and all that, right? So I think where at least our organization and my teams we focus on is like, again, a lot of people add features, right, day in, day out to their products and all that. Giving a feature ROI is so important, right? Feature metric, right? Because in Amazon, at least we measure something called downstream impact for everything, right? So again, there's a big algorithm. What does that mean? So that is a measure that we calculate. Again, there are some systems that will calculate us, right? Based on that, we determine, hey, this feature, this is the impact. So let us do it or let us not do it, right? Having that very tailor-made metrics for the organizations will go a long way, right? So that otherwise you go after, you develop for months together, right? You don't know whether it is even really helping out or not, right? So if you don't have metrics beyond this very, very high level efficiency improvement could be very different for very, many different teams within the organization, right? So I think figure out those and define and have a way to quantify them, right? So that is where even leadership can be well informed and take the decisions. Otherwise, they'll be clueless. I'm spending the resources, but I am not seeing the ROI, right? So I think that is a big takeaway for me, and that is what we keep pushing ourselves and our teams, right? Everything that you are asking us to do, clearly document the impact, very quantifiable impact, right? So yeah.
Thank you, Srinivas. Abhinav.
Yeah, so let me touch upon briefly on a comprehensive framework which can talk beyond traditional ROI metrics. You can divide this into like 4 parts. Number 1 can be operational excellence metrics, where you can measure reduction in non-productive time, improvement in predictive maintenance accuracy, faster decision-making in critical situations, reduction in routine task processing time. Second one is employee impact indicators, looking at employee engagement scores, how they've increased in AI-enabled teams, number of employees who report, feeling more valued after AI automation of routine tasks, how career progression rates have improved to new AI-related roles, and how much time they are spending on strategic versus, say, routine tasks. Third one is innovation and learning metrics, number of employees, who are leading improvement suggestions. Like suppose earlier you were receiving like 1,000 suggestions, now you're receiving 10,000 new ideas, increase in cross-functional collaboration, rise in knowledge sharing sessions. And the last one is customer and quality impact. You need to measure, is there any improvement in service delivery accuracy? Have you improved your response times to technical challenges? Enhancing project completion rates, improving customer satisfaction. To do all of this, you basically need to have like a balanced scorecard approach, combine both qualitative and quantitative metrics, have like feedback loops from all stakeholders, and then some success factors which can guide this is basically having like regular measurement and reporting cycles, transparency, employee involvement, and metric definition for different teams, different orgs. So yeah, in my view, successful AI implementation is not about ROI on technology. It's about creating a sustainable value across the entire organizational ecosystem.
Perfect. Thank you, Abhinav. But I'd like to switch gears a bit over here, and CK, you touched on this earlier in the conversation, and in fact, recent surveys said that 85% believe that the future of work raises ethical challenges, and only 27% have clear policies, leaders in place to manage them. And so question, as AI becomes integral to workplace processes, how can companies balance the drive for efficiency with ethical responsibilities around privacy, autonomy, fairness, and what frameworks or safeguards could ensure AI's positive impact without eroding trust?
So it's a question that we have as leaders, and I've gone through so many industries, as I said, you mentioned in the introduction, and created so many startups. Every time you come up with an innovation, every time you come up with something new, this is a dilemma that we have all the time. How the technology or whatever we are building is going to be used. And it is up to the organization to remember what the values that they were created for. And the other thing that they need to understand is how this information gets stored. So if my data, so talking specifically about AI, when my data gets into the public cloud, and it can be accessed by anybody else, then it becomes valuable for me that because I care for maintaining my customers' information privacy, I need to ensure either somebody who is hosting for me is going to be protecting that information, or I have to bring those guardrails to protect that information. And I think this is no different. Like I gave that thing when Abhinav was talking, like hiring an employee. You have to ensure that they follow your company's value system, they follow your company's guardrails, and you have to be clear about your organization's ethics also upfront. And nothing is paramount. Nothing is more valuable than the trust that you have, because whether you lose the trust of your customers or your controllers, which is your regulators or your stakeholders or your employees, that you can survive, because you need all of them for your survival, growth, and proper. So I think it is very important to align. So remove the word AI, you bring in any other technology, any other word, you will have the same question. You bring in any smart person into your organization, you have the same person. So I think people try to relate this and think it is very different, and they start thinking that, oh, AI is going to create so many problems. No, just like you bring in a new employee, they are going to make a mistake. You bring in a new employee, you don't know what data they are going to take out and send it to somebody else. You don't know how they're working with your competitor. How are you going to protect yourself, and what is paramount to you, what is valuable to you, is what is going to define how you want to use it. Whether it comes to efficiency basis, whether it comes to customer thing. So if customer satisfaction is most important to me, I will measure customer satisfaction, and I will see any tools or technology that I use. Is it helping my customer? Is it making more comfortable for them, or is it making it difficult for them? And I should make my decisions that way. Just like one of the panelists said, just because there is a technology out there, it's not necessary for you to go and use it. But if it makes a better business sense for you, if it makes more money for your shareholders, if it makes comfortable for your employees to work, if it makes it more efficient and more valuable for your customers to work, please go ahead and use it. Don't just stop because you are scared of something new. Get educated, learn it, use it. Hire the people. There are already certain people who are knowledgeable, who understand how to do this. Bring them in and make the best use of it.
Thank you, CK. I believe we have time for probably just one question from the audience. So again, this is a question for all the speakers. So go as you feel fit. While leaders claim that AI will not replace humans, the reality is that AI is indeed impacting various types of jobs, which is causing frustration, emotional strain for many people. So how would you advise non-technical individuals to prepare for these changes? I know we touched on some of it, but anything that you'd like to add?
So I can add, right? I'll still continue to add on the point, right, that focus on human-centric skills, right? Empathy, creativity, critical thinking, those are all going to be important. Literacy on non-technical folks, I think on the AI and data literacy, basic coding literacy will help, right? Now, I understand not everybody is interested or is wanting to do it, but if you can, I think those things can definitely help the non-technical people as well. The other element of that is that if you're working on the routine task of things, try to get out of that and get a little bit more on the problem-solving aspect, right? On what problems are you solving, and not just be stuck on how you're solving the problem. So try to solve that bigger problem by leveraging the technology around you. I think that will definitely help. But yeah, the others have more.
Perfect.
I want to add to on top of what Bhavin mentioned is, I think every organization, irrespective of how much money they are making, right? So want to be efficient, right? This is their of efficiency, right? Over the last 2-3 years, we've been seeing, right? After these layoffs and all that, right? So I think there's a skilling aspect where I, as a employee, whether I'm in operations or a tech, right, where I need to up level my game to be staying more relevant in today's world. Yes, there is a reduced spend, right? It's not completely eliminating jobs, but sorry, it's not completely removing humans, but definitely there is a less spend, which means we need to do more relevant roles than before, right? So if you are doing, as you mentioned, Bhavin, again, very repetitive, that is the risk, right? I mean, I'm complacent, right? I'm just doing very same. This can potentially be replaced. I think acknowledging that and staying ahead of the game will definitely be helpful, right? So talk to your management. Hey, I want to do more, creative work, right, than what I'm doing, right? So, I mean, engineers come and ask me too, right? Hey, I want to change the program, right? I want to do a better work, right? So similarly, it is applicable to everyone, right? Whether it's in the operations floor or on the engineers, right? So there's a need to than ever before, right, to up-level skills. And we are in a very transformative phase, probably the biggest transformative phase ever seen, right? Where what AI can do, right? So it is doing a lot of things, but there's still a long way to go, right? Yeah.
I can add to this. So I'll be like very blunt on AI's impact. Yes, jobs are changing, but this change brings opportunity, if you are prepared. So my straightforward advice is you can focus on 3 things. Develop your human skills, uniquely human skills, critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, become AI literate. As a non-technical person, you don't need to code, but you need to understand how to use an AI tool or how the tool works, to understand the nuances, the ins and outs of the tool, and leverage your domain expertise. Combine your experience with these tools. And what I have seen across sectors is the most successful employees aren't the one who are the most technical. They are the ones who have adapted and learned to use AI in their existing roles. So your experience and judgment like matter more than ever, and AI will just help you to apply them more effectively. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Perfect. So we'll close with quick thoughts, takeaways from all the speakers on AI and workforce transformation. Hyper reality. Is AI truly transforming the digital workforce, or is it more hype than reality? Quick thoughts from all of you.
I would start with AI is a reality. AI is reality. It is here to stay. It is going to make our lives simpler or difficult. the way we decide to handle it or tackle with it. But it is going to be it is going to be part of our life, and we will have to either we will follow others or we will become a leader in our space. And I think smarter people are taking the move to become the leaders and utilize it for their benefit. So get onto the bandwagon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go
Bhavin,
next. Sorry, Bhavin, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think you only mentioned, right, it's a very large transformation that you have seen. I personally think, yeah, similarly, it's as big as the internet creation, right? So everything is going to change, in my opinion. It is here to stay as well. I do think it will not be problem-free, so it's not like a magic wand that basically will solve everything. But I think that's a good thing, because then you'll need people to solve those kind of problems. So it's all needed. But yeah, it's absolutely a reality, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll go next.
yes.
I think for me, it is both the hype and reality. I mean, it's definitely reality. We are seeing a lot. The hype around AI will do everything possible, right? I think, which is still only time will tell. We are not in a phase where we don't need humans in organizations where machines can code by itself and all that, right? So way forward, right? I think, in my opinion, will not happen for next few decades, at least there, right? So I think we are in a phase where of go big or go home, right? So organizations need to clearly invest time and clearly strategies, and employees just be part of the strategy, right? Don't be on just on the execution part, right? Fearlessly bring out challenges, opportunities, right? Be part of the overall strategy, and again, focus on learning, right? Learning just to stay relevant.
Perfect. Abhinav?
Yeah. So I would say, is AI truly transforming the digital workforce? Yes, but there are some like nuances. What I'm experiencing are like three concrete realities. There is measurable impact of AI in our day-to-day, operations, whether it is faster decision making, reduction in diagnostic time, more time for innovation versus say routine tasks. A second one is role evolution, not replacement. So I'll talk about one role, say geologists. They are analyzing like 3 times more seismic data than ever before. So it's augmenting them, not replacing them. That's a role which is completely like say removed from AI, and it is helping them by leaps and bounds. Field operators have become digital first problem solvers, and engineers are focusing on strategic decisions while AI handles like routine calculations. So like meeting summaries or whatever, right? Very simple tasks, or like answering support questions on your product. And the third one is human advantage. AI is augmenting your entire skill set. I think Bhavin touched upon it. He can have a broader, view of his organization, knowledge, everything, and take better informed decisions. Critical thinking and domain knowledge remain essential, and I would say even more important than before. And the most successful outcome comes from human AI collaboration. So it's not hype, it's a business reality. And the success depends upon implementing it thoughtfully, keeping humans at the center. And organizations which are taking this approach are already gaining like significant competitive advantages. I do not know of any organization which is not using AI or upskilling their teams. Very hard to find those organizations today.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thanks so much, Abhinav, Srinivas, CK, Bhavin, for the great insights, the great perspectives that each of you shared today. I'm sure the audience enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And I'm going to quickly turn it back over to Nitin from the AI CoursePath team to wrap things up.
Yeah, thank you. As we are already on time, I'll not take much of your time to wrap it up. But yeah, thanks to all our speakers, Bhavin, Srinivas, Abhinav, and CK for your insightful contribution to this discussion on the future of work. I also extend my gratitude to John for the excellent moderation of today's session. I'm confident that all attendees would have found it very engaging and enlightening. For those who have missed any part of today's session or wish to revisit it, the recording will be available on our company's YouTube page for your convenience. So have a look at that when you get time. A special mention to our partners, InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner, for their unwavering support and collaboration for all the events which we do. So be sure to explore their websites to dive deeper into the world of technological advancements. We as a company, AI CoursePod, thoroughly enjoyed hosting this session and hope you all found it as enriching as we did. Look forward to continuing our journey together and bringing you more insightful sessions in the future. Until then, take care. Thank you once again for your participation and support. Have a great